Have you ever looked at a photograph that instantly sent chills down your spine? Not because of something obvious, no ghostly figure standing in the corner or a monster peering through a window, but because something about it just felt wrong. Some photos capture not just moments, but lingering shadows of something darker, something unexplainable. Welcome to this countdown of the top 10 creepiest photos with disturbing Backstories, pictures that have haunted people for decades, not only for what they reveal, but for the sinister secrets they conceal. Be warned. Some of these images have been known to haunt the minds of those who look too closely. Let's dive straight into our first two haunting photographs, each carrying a backstory far more terrifying than what initially meets the eye. Number 10. The Cooper family falling body photo. The smiles, so genuine and unknowing, seem almost tragic in the presence of whatever dark entity shared that moment with them. Paranormal enthusiasts continue to share and analyze it, and it regularly appears in compilations of the world's most terrifying photographs. The area was reportedly once home to settlers who vanished mysteriously in the late 1800s, and local folklore speaks of strange lights, ghostly apparitions, and unmarked graves. Could the Cooper family's photo have captured not just a ghost, but the echo of something far older, something that predates even the house itself? Even more unsettling, after this photograph was taken, the Cooper family's trail goes cold in public records, leaving many to wonder if their fate was somehow sealed the night that photo was snapped. Did they flee the house in terror? Did something more sinister happen? We may never know. Freddie's face was calm, almost peaceful, as though he had simply shown up for one last photo with his comrades. His features were unmistakable. Skeptics, of course, argued that it was nothing more than a double exposure accident of early photography. They weren't imagining things. They knew his face. It buried him. Yet there he was, caught forever on film. No scientific explanation has ever fully satisfied believers or skeptics. It remains, to this day, one of the most compelling ghost photographs ever taken. But those who've studied the image point out the accuracy, clarity, and placement of Freddie's face make this explanation difficult to accept. Freddie Jackson was a young air mechanic with the British Royal Air Force who met a sudden and tragic end when he accidentally walked into the path of a spinning airplane propeller. There are dozens of wartime accounts from both world wars, where soldiers spoke of fleeting glimpses of friends who had already died, faces in crowds, voices in the wind, even shadows that shouldn't have been there. They capture moments we were never meant to see, moments that hint at a reality far darker and far stranger than we'd like to believe. We look into the lens expecting to see the familiar, but sometimes what stares back at us is anything but. Whether these experiences are tricks of the mind born from trauma or something far more mysterious, no one can say for sure. His death shocked his entire squadron, and his funeral was held just days after the accident. A whisper that maybe, just maybe, some photographs are windows to something beyond our understanding. Windows we can never close. Are some souls simply unwilling or unable to move on? Our first stop takes us back to the 1950s in Texas, where the Cooper family had just moved into what they hoped would be their dream home. Eager to capture the memory, the family, two smiling parents, and their two young sons posed for a simple photograph in their cozy new living room. The grotesque figures seemed suspended in midair as though caught between two worlds. No one in the family recalled hearing or seeing anything strange at the time. Yet there it was, an impossible figure forever captured on film. Dozens of men stood together, honoring not just their survival, but also the memory of those they had lost. The photograph was taken without incident. No one saw anything unusual. But when the image was developed, a ghostly figure was clearly visible in the back row, the translucent face of Freddie Jackson himself. There was laughter, warmth, and excitement for a new beginning. The photo was snapped, and life went on, or so they thought. Others whisper about the possibility of a restless spirit tied to the land or the house, a ghost making its presence known. Still others suggest something far more malevolent, something demonic. Days later, when the film was developed, the family was horrified to discover that the photograph revealed a chilling sight. A dark, human-like figure appeared to be falling upside down from the ceiling directly behind them. Theories abound. Some believe it was a rare case of double exposure, a common but eerie photographic glitch in the days of film. What adds to the spine-chilling nature of this photo is the uncanny juxtaposition of the family's cheerful expressions against the ghastly figure lurking behind them. To this day, no one has definitively explained the image. Some have even pointed out that the architecture of the Cooper house hints at its own dark history. Number 9. The Ghost of Freddie Jackson. Our second terrifying image takes us to 1919 England. In the aftermath of World War I, shortly after the funeral, the squadron gathered for a commemorative photograph. The men recognized him immediately, sending shivers down their spines. Many believe this was Freddie's way of saying goodbye, of leaving behind one final memento with the people he had served alongside. What's even more chilling is how all the surviving men in the photograph agreed it was Freddie. The photo has been studied, debated, and feared for more than a century. Interestingly, some historians have pointed out that this wasn't the first or last time soldiers reported the presence of fallen comrades lingering close to their old units. And here's a disturbing thought. Could it be that some bonds forged in war are so strong they defy even death itself? These two photographs remind us that sometimes cameras capture more than just memories. That unsettling thought lingers, a quiet echo in the mind. Number 8. The Tragedy of Omera in November 1985. The small Colombian town of Armero faced an unspeakable disaster when the Nevado del Ruiz volcano erupted. The eruption melted the mountain's ice cap, triggering a series of deadly mudslides known as La Horsat buried the entire town beneath millions of tons of mud and debris. She had been pinned under the collapsed remains of her family's home, submerged up to her neck in icy, contaminated water, her legs trapped beneath concrete and twisted metal. Despite the agony, despite the impossible odds, Omera remained astonishingly calm, composed, and heartbreakingly hopeful. More than 23,000 people perished in mere hours, making it one of the deadliest volcanic disasters in recorded history. As the hours stretched into days, Omera's condition worsened. Her skin turned ghostly pale, her eyes darkened with exhaustion, yet she remained lucid. Speaking to the journalists and rescuers with heartbreaking innocence, people who look at Omera's face for the first time often speak of sleepless nights, of an unbearable sadness that clings to them, unable to shake the profound injustice of her death. At one point, she sang softly, shared her dreams, and even asked for sweets. But amid the wreckage and devastation, one image would go on to haunt the conscience of the world. The photograph of 13-year-old Omera. Jim Templeton, a firefighter, took his wife and young daughter Elizabeth for a picnic at Berg Marcia, remote and empty, a stretch of grassland near the Solway Firth coastline. It was an ordinary day filled with laughter, fresh air, and the simple joy of family time. Even the Ministry of Defense launched an inquiry, but the mystery deepened when they too failed to provide an explanation.
The media dubbed the figure the Solway Firth spaceman,
and theories began to swirl. Yet this fails to account for the distinct shape of the helmet-like head and the bulk of the figure, which dwarfs any ordinary human form. It appeared to be wearing a helmet and what looked eerily similar to a spacesuit. A few weeks later, Jim discovered that a missile test in Australia had been unexpectedly aborted when strange figures described as spacemen were seen near the launch site. The date of the sighting is the very same day he took the photograph. And yet lurking in the background is an impossibility, an image that suggests there are worlds, beings and truths that lie just beyond the thin veil of what we perceive. Yet no one else had been in the area. Jim swore that he, his wife, and daughter were completely alone. It taps into our deepest fears. The idea that we are not alone. That someone or something might be watching us without our knowledge. That even in the most ordinary moments, the extraordinary can break through. It lingers in the mind, a quiet reminder that reality is sometimes far stranger than fiction. The rescue efforts were painstakingly slow. Volunteers and emergency workers did everything they could, but they lacked the necessary equipment to free her. They questioned him aggressively about the photograph, and then disappeared, leaving behind no trace of their identities. Many UFO researchers cite this as one of the earliest documented encounters with the so-called Men in Black. But when the photos were developed, one image stood out, a chilling anomaly that has never been fully explained. Omera died after 60 hours of exposure, hypothermia, and crushing injuries. Her death broadcast to the world, her suffering frozen in a single devastating image. French photojournalist Frank Fournier captured Omera's haunting final moments in a photograph that would later win the prestigious World Press Photo Award. The image shows the young girl's face, her eyes wide, her lips parted, resignation and terror captured in equal measure. It's not the face of someone afraid of monsters, it's the face of someone painfully aware that the world cannot save her. The terror lies not in what we cannot see, but in what we can. The quiet acceptance of a child who knows no help is coming. Despite global outrage sparked by the photo, no heavy equipment arrived in time. The photograph of Omera is often cited as one of the most haunting images ever captured, not because of the supernatural, but because it exposes the chilling helplessness of humanity. To this day, the photograph remains a symbol of both human fragility and the devastating consequences of unpreparedness. Number 7. The mysterious Solway Firth spaceman. In 1964, in the pastoral calm of Cumbria, England, a simple family outing spiraled into one of the most baffling photographic mysteries in history. Jim, like many fathers, wanted to capture the moment. He photographed his daughter smiling sweetly at the camera. In the background, directly behind his daughter, stood a tall white figure, its form unmistakably humanoid, but utterly bizarre. Kodak examined the image and confirmed its authenticity. No manipulation, no trickery. Was it an extraterrestrial caught by chance? A time traveler from a future era? Or some interdimensional being captured by pure accident? One explanation suggests the figure was merely Jim's wife, Annie, with her back to the camera, her dress overexposed by sunlight, adding to the surreal nature of the case. Jim later reported being visited by two men dressed in black suits, figures who identified themselves vaguely as government agents. But the strangeness didn't end there. The Solway Firth spaceman has since become legend. Countless analyses, debates, and documentaries have failed to solve the riddle. The photograph is unsettling precisely because it's so mundane. A child, a field, a clear sky. Whether you see the Solway spaceman as evidence of alien visitation, government secrecy, or an elaborate accident, one thing remains. The photograph refuses to fade from public imagination. Number 6. The terrifying backstory of the last Jew in Vinica in 1941. During the darkest days of World War II, a single photograph was taken that would come to represent the unspeakable horror of the Holocaust. The grainy, black-and-white image is haunting in its simplicity. A man kneeling at the edge of a mass grave, his back straight, his face resigned, while a German soldier stands with a pistol aimed at his head moments from pulling the trigger. The executioner, caught mid-action, is faceless, his expression unreadable. Other soldiers in the background appear relaxed. One even seems to be casually watching, his hands in his pockets, as though witnessing a routine task, devoid of empathy or emotion. This chilling image is known as the Last Jew in Vinica, named after the Ukrainian town where tens of thousands of Jewish people were systematically rounded up and executed by Nazi Einsatzgruppen death squads. It is a photograph that demands reflection. It forces us to question how ordinary people can commit extraordinary evil, societies can turn a blind eye to atrocities, and how easily humanity can unravel when hatred goes unchecked. Many survivors and descendants of Holocaust victims have spoken of how seeing this image for the first time left them shaken, a visceral reminder of the horrors their families endured. Yet it is one of the most terrifying images ever captured, precisely because of what it suggests: the banality of evil. It was meant to be a moment of remembrance, a symbolic way of including the departed child in their gathering. The photograph itself appeared ordinary, the family standing together, dressed in somber but respectful attire, expressions soft with grief, but held by love. They were adamant. There had been no other children present. The photograph was genuine, untouched, and chilling. It captures the machinery of genocide reduced to its most chilling essence: one man. One bullet, one instant carried out without resistance, without feeling. The idea that the soul of a departed family member might return to check on the living, or simply to be part of a gathering, is both comforting and unsettling. Instead of fearing the ghostly image, they embraced it. Unlike many blurry or distorted images, this one seemed undeniably human delicate, sad, and strangely beautiful. They saw it as a sign that their daughter's spirit was at peace and still loved them. It raises uncomfortable questions. If spirits do exist, what do they want? Do they watch us? Do they miss us? Or are they trapped, forever hovering at the edges of our reality? They framed the photograph, placed it in their home, and even shared it proudly with relatives. To them, it wasn't tea, a source of terror, was a profound connection to someone they had lost but never stopped loving. Standing beside them, faint but clearly visible, was the transparent figure of a young girl, a ghostly presence unmistakable in its outline. She appeared calm, almost as if she were smiling softly, her hands clasped as she stood just slightly apart from the living. A family had gathered at a cemetery to commemorate the anniversary of a young girl, Esthetha, beloved daughter and sister, who had passed away too soon. The photograph, believed to have been taken by a German soldier as a grim memento, became a horrifying symbol of industrialized mass murder. And the hope, no matter how irrational that, the people we love are somehow still with us, even after death. Many who viewed the photograph reported an eerie sense of unease, a chill running down their spines. They hold within them not just memories, but messages, some of which we may never fully understand. Some said they couldn't stop thinking about it for days, as if the girl's gaze seemed to follow them. What makes this photograph disturbingly powerful is the cold detachment of the scene. There is no visible blood in the photograph. There is no explosion of violence. And in that way, he represents not just himself, but the millions of lives lost to hatred and inhumanity. The identity of the doomed man remains unknown. There is no name, no story beyond this single heartbreaking moment. Historians and human rights activists continue to use this image to educate new generations about the dangers of propaganda, indifference, and systematic dehumanization. Even beyond its historical importance, the image resonates on a deeper psychological level. It is more than just a photograph. It is a mirror held up to human nature, reminding us of the darkness we are capable of when empathy dies. Number 5. The creepy story of the dead girl's ghost. Shifting from the horrors of human history to the mysteries of the unknown, our next haunting photograph takes us to Manila, Philippines. In the early 2000s, to mark the occasion, they posed for a family photograph beside the girl's grave. But when the photograph was developed, the family was stunned. Skeptics were quick to offer alternative explanations: double exposure, lens flare, digital editing. But the family dismissed these notions. The image spread rapidly across the Philippines and then internationally, shared on news outlets, paranormal forums, and ghost hunting websites. In Filipino culture, the belief in spirits, especially the presence of loved ones who have passed, is deeply ingrained. What made this photograph even more disturbing was how the family responded. Paranormal experts who examined the photograph called it one of the clearest apparitions ever caught on film. The photograph lingers in the memory because it blurs the line between fear and longing. In the end, whether one believes in ghosts or not, this image taps into something universal: the grief of loss, the yearning for connection together. These two haunting photographs, one capturing the unfathomable cruelty of human violence, the other the eerie possibility of life beyond death, remind us that the images we take for granted may sometimes reveal more than we ever intended to see. They force us to confront the terrifying truth that sometimes the camera doesn't lie, and sometimes the camera sees far more than we do. Number 4. The tragic faces of the Omagh bombing on August 15, 1998. The small town of Omagh in Northern Ireland was shattered by one of the most horrifying acts of violence in modern Irish history. A car bomb planted by the real Irish Republican Army exploded in the heart of the town's shopping district on a bright summer afternoon, killing 29 innocent people, including women, children, and foreign visitors. Over 220 others were injured in the carnage. The photograph later circulated in the media not as a mere news image, but as a chilling glimpse into the fragility of life. The bombers had made a warning call. but confusion over the precise location meant that police unintentionally moved people closer to the actual blast site. Minutes before the explosion, a tourist snapped a photograph of the busy street, capturing the last innocent moments of life for several of those who would die just moments later. In the photograph, people are seen shopping, laughing, pushing strollers, completely unaware that within minutes, the street would be turned into a scene of utter devastation. What makes this photograph so deeply haunting is that it captures not death itself, but the very moment before death-life in its most ordinary, vulnerable state. It freezes in time the seconds before everything changes. The smiles, the conversations, the small daily joys all about to be annihilated by an act of senseless terror. Just 2 years earlier, Ronald DeFeo Jr. had murdered his parents. Their experiences formed the basis of what would later be called the Amityville Horror, inspiring books, documentaries, and films. And for siblings inside the house, claiming he had been driven to commit the crime by voices only he could hear. No living children were in the house at the time, nor were there mannequins or cardboard cutouts that could explain the image.
Wow.
The photograph was taken using infrared film as part of the overnight surveillance. The idea that the trauma and violence that occurred within those walls could somehow leave a psychic imprint and echo of past horror is chilling to contemplate. Paranormal television shows, books, and online discussions frequently return to this image. For believers, it is irrefutable evidence of the supernatural. For skeptics, it is a mystery that refuses to be neatly dismissed. They freeze in time not only the visible world, but the invisible weight of fear, loss, and mystery. For many, looking at this photograph evokes not just sadness, but a profound sense of dread. That there are places where the past clings to the present, where tragedy leaves scars not just on memory, but on reality itself. It raises unsettling questions. Do traumatic deaths leave behind energy or entities? And places become stained by violence and grief? It reminds us that terrorism does not just claim lives, it shatters communities, memories, and the very fabric of daily existence. One of the most famous pieces of evidence from that investigation is a single, disturbing photograph showing the ghostly image of a young boy peeking from a second-story bedroom. The photograph continues to be used in peace campaigns, anti-violence education, and memorial events as a powerful reminder of the cost of hatred and division. Some researchers claim the boy resembles one of the DeFeo children, John Matthew DeFeo, one of the murder victims. Skeptics, of course, have offered alternative theories. A hoax, a mistaken identity, a misfiring camera. But despite these theories, no definitive explanation has ever been proven. It is a visual reminder that tragedy can strike without warning, that life can pivot from normal to nightmare in the blink of an eye. Survivors of the bombing have spoken about how surreal it feels to see the faces of people, alive and unaware, who would be gone within minutes. The Omagh bombing photograph stands as a somber symbol of the impact of violence on innocent lives. Number 3. The Amityville Ghost Boy photograph. Now we move from real-world terror to the realm of the supernatural, a photograph that has haunted paranormal enthusiasts for decades. In 1976, renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called to the infamous Amityville house in Long Island, New York. The Lutz family, who moved into the house shortly after the murders, reported chilling paranormal activity, cold spots, strange odors, disembodied voices, and terrifying apparitions. The Warrens, who were already well known for their investigations into the paranormal, brought along a team equipped with cameras, audio recorders, and psychic mediums. The boy's eyes appear to glow eerily in the darkness, and his pale face is partially obscured by the doorframe. The photograph, now dubbed the Amityville Ghost Boy, became one of the most iconic paranormal images ever captured. What makes this image so disturbing is not just the eerie presence of the childlike figure, but the psychological weight of the house's dark history. Even today, decades later, the photo continues to fascinate and terrify. The photograph taps into a deep, primal fear, the fear that the veil between the living and the dead is thinner than we think. The Amityville Ghost Boy image has been described by some as a doorway photograph, a moment when something from another realm briefly intersected with our world. Together, the Omagh bombing photograph and the Amityville Ghost Boy remind us that images have the power to preserve not just what is seen, but what is felt. They are snapshots of moments that defy easy explanation, moments that haunt not just the subjects within the frame, but the hearts and minds of those who dare to look. To the disturbing photo of Eliza Lamb's last moments in February 2013, 21-year-old Lisa Lamb checked into the infamous Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. The hotel itself carries a dark legacy. It was once home to serial killer Richard Ramirez, nicknamed the Night Stalker. She was reported missing after her daily contact with her family abruptly stopped. As police investigated, they released surveillance footage from one of the hotel's elevators footage that would go viral across the globe. How she got there remains a mystery. The rooftop was locked and alarmed. The water tanks were heavy and difficult to access. Theories abounded. Was it a tragic accident? Suicide? Foul play? Or something darker? And become one of the most analyzed and unsettling videos of the internet age. The footage, endlessly analyzed frame by frame, leaves viewers unsettled, haunted by the uncomfortable reality that sometimes the most terrifying stories are not those of ghosts or demons, but of real people lost in moments we cannot comprehend. The haunting image of Eliza, peering fearfully from that elevator, reminds us of how thin the line can be between safety and danger, between normalcy and terror, and had been the site of countless suicides, murders, and unexplained deaths over the decades. Moments after she landed atop a parked limousine, photography student Robert Wiles snapped a picture of her lifeless body. But what the photo revealed stunned the world. Evelyn appeared at peace, as if merely resting. The photograph became known as the most beautiful suicide. Elisa, a Canadian college student traveling alone, never checked out of the hotel. Evelyn McHale, a 23-year-old bookkeeper from Baldwin, New York, leaped to her death from the observation deck of the Empire State Building's 86th floor. The stillness of her face contradicts the violence of her fall. They show us that the most haunting photographs are not always of ghosts or the supernatural. Sometimes the images that stay with us the longest are those that reveal the quiet, inexplicable moments when life slips silently, shockingly away. And perhaps that is why the image remains so haunting. It suggests that death, so often imagined as chaos, can sometimes appear deceptively gentle. In the grainy black and white video, Eliza is seen stepping in and out of the elevator, repeatedly peeking anxiously down the hallway, hiding in the corner, making bizarre hand gestures, and pressing multiple buttons, as if in a frantic attempt to escape something or someone. And let us know in the comments which of these photographs haunted you the most. Images that freeze not only the visual, but the emotional snapshots of human fragility, mental anguish, and the thin veil that separates us from the darkness beyond. Some see in it the silent despair of post-war society. Others are disturbed by the eerie calm of death captured so perfectly. Sometimes it is the echo of real lives, real tragedies, and real moments that were never meant to be forgotten. Many who look at the photograph report feeling not just sadness, but an unshakable chill and unsettling awareness of how fragile, how strangely quiet the boundary between life and death can be. Her gloved hands were delicately clasped over her chest, her legs stretched gracefully across the crumpled metal roof of the car. The grotesque destruction of the vehicle beneath her seemed surreal against the calm, almost artistic stillness of her form. It has inspired horror films, documentaries, and countless theories. Yet despite all the speculation, the case remains unsolved, the truth forever shrouded in uncertainty. I wouldn't make a good wife for anybody. Her simple, heartbreaking words, combined with the haunting image, have kept her story alive in public memory for over 75 years. Viewers worldwide were transfixed. Was she running from a pursuer? Was she hallucinating? Was something unseen manipulating her actions? Some believe she suffered a psychotic break brought on by mental illness. Others suggest foul play or even supernatural involvement tied to the building's sinister history. Weeks later, after guests at the hotel complained of foul-tasting water and low pressure, maintenance workers made a gruesome discovery. Eliza's decomposing body was found floating inside one of the rooftop water tanks. The last known images of Eliza Lamb, those terrifying seconds of her moving strangely inside the elevator, have become one of the internet's most enduring mysteries. The Cecil Hotel itself has become an infamous symbol of urban decay and death. Even today, countless theories continue to swirl online. 1. The terrifying death of Evelyn McHale, Our final chilling photograph takes us back to May 1st, 1947, to a tragic moment frozen in time that has haunted the world for decades. What made Evelyn's death disturbingly memorable wasn't just the act itself, but the image that captured it. Her body, almost untouched by visible trauma, lay as if in serene repose. Life magazine published the image with the caption, "At the bottom of the Empire State Building. The body of Evelyn McHale reposes calmly, her falling body having crushed the top of a car." Evelyn left behind a brief suicide note that read, "He is much better off without me." The photograph has since inspired countless works of art, music, and commentary. Psychologists have analyzed the photograph for decades, noting how its composition almost defies the horror of the moment. The crushed metal contrasts with the seemingly untouched body. Together, these final two images, the chilling mystery of Elisa Lam and the tragic elegance of Evelyn McHale, bring this unsettling journey to its climax. They are images that challenge our understanding of life, death, and the unknown. And perhaps that is the most disturbing truth of all, that in the end, it is not always the monsters that haunt us. If these stories sent chills down your spine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves a good scare.